And there you go. And I'm really going to talk about it today. So at the top of the page, train and consult. We use career visioning in order to, that's the process that we use. It's the system that we use. We use career visioning, and please write that down because it's not just a word. It's actually a class that's available through Keller Williams University. And you're going to want to look that up and put it on your calendar and make sure that you're taking career visioning as many times as possible in the next 12 months. Remember, everything is a standard. So here's a standard. How about taking that class? Hi, Zara. How about taking that class once a quarter for the next 12 months, right? If you just set a goal to take career visioning in the next 12 months, you may and you may not. If you set a standard that I'm going to take career visioning once a quarter, Maria, how are you? It's good to see you. That you're going to take career visioning once a quarter for the next 12 months, then you'll do it. Now, look it up, find out where it's being taught. If it's being taught in person, go. If it's being taught digitally, go. But take that class. Now, that's the system that we use, the model that we use for hiring talent, for finding talent. In order to determine, Rashad, if the person I'm talking to is the right person for my team, my business, and then also to determine what's the right seat for them. Jim Collins shared in the book Good to Great that your job is to find the right people and get them on the bus. But your job is not only to get the right people on the bus, it's to get them in the right seat. Because the right persons are in the wrong seat is still not a good hire. That's going to lead to frustration, both for you and the person you hired. All right, now, the second part of career visioning is called 30, 60, 90. It's a class. Look it up, put it on your calendar. Take that 4 times in the next 12 months, once every quarter. And in the book, your playbook, in order to become a millionaire real estate agent, Gary talks about 30, 60, 90 when he talks about train and consult. All right, so here's what Gary says. The last key area of your organizational model is training and consulting. What you pay talent to help you makes up a huge percentage of your annual cost. So you will always want to make sure you get the most out of your people investment. And you get the most out of your people investment by training and consulting. Yes or yes? Yep. Yeah, and does that ever end? No. No, good answer. I'm 6 years on the job as a team leader. And as I'm coming into my office today and preparing for the day, I'm looking at a stack of notes and materials that I have from classes that I have attended just in the past 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Oh my gosh, you would think I've got it by now. And this is a university that you never graduate from. If I looked at everything that I've learned as a team leader in the last 6 years, I have a master's in business education. Absolutely. Right? And I guess depending on how you look at it, I didn't pay anything for it, right? Keller Williams did. They paid a lot to give me the opportunity to have a master's in business. Right? Right. Good. Just making sure you're paying attention. Okay. You'll get the best results from people if you do 2 things, train and consult them. All right, bottom of the page. This is the way training and consulting should work. Now, what he's talking about is figure 23. So if you're looking at the book, you see on the far left diagram, train for knowledge and skills. Take action. The purpose of training, if you're taking notes, write this down, write it down, write it down. The purpose of training is to take action. You're not here for entertainment purposes. Remember, there's a lot of things that you can do that are more entertaining than showing up every morning and listening to the sound of my voice. So train and consult Train for knowledge and skills, take action, and then consult for accountability. That leads back to more training for knowledge and skills, take action, consult for accountability, repeat, 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 and that never stops. You train someone initially to understand the job, learn the skills, and develop the systems required to do the job at a high level. The person you hired then starts taking action every week. All right, so write it down. How often do I want to meet with the person that I'm hiring? Every week, you meet with your new hire to review their goals, priorities, and weekly tasks, and to hold them accountable. And again, that never stops. You never get to a point where you say, okay, they've got it. I can check out, and we don't need to continue to meet every week and make sure that they're doing their job. So if you're looking at it from a perspective of weekly meetings as micromanagement, then you're going to lean to eventually you're going to stop doing this, and you're actually going to tell yourself that this person knows what they're doing. You no longer need to meet with them, and that is an indication you're showing them that you trust them now. Here's my perspective. You're also showing them that you don't care anymore. Because when you meet with someone every week and you talk about their goals, you talk about what they did in relationship to their goals, and you train, consult, look for their blind spots and help them break through in order to reach higher levels of success, you're actually showing them that you care. Yes or yes? Yeah. Just like you, your employee should set annual goals and break them down into monthly and weekly ones. By the way, not in the book. Just like you, they should create an action plan in order to achieve those monthly goals and weekly goals. In other words, activities. What are the activities that lead to the results that you want? If I were having a conversation with Lucas, for example, I'm hired Lucas, he's a part of my team. One of my questions would be, Lucas, what were your goals for the last week? How did you do? How do you feel about that? What are the challenges that are standing between you and your goals? And what can we do in order to break through those challenges and move you closer to your goals? What would be the activities, Lucas, that you would need to achieve in order to hit those goals? What's your daily action plan? How did you do based on that daily action plan? What are the challenges or the obstacles that are keeping you from completing those daily activities? If you write on a piece of paper on the left side of the sheet of paper the word grow vertically, G-R-O-W. G stands for your goal. In other words, Sophia, what were your goals? R stands for reality. In other words, how did you do? And remember, you're going to do this for the outcome, and you're going to do this for the activities. And you're going to focus on the activities. In other words, Sophia says, well, John, one of my goals was to have 20 conversations a day. Cool. The R is reality. How did you do? Well, then you're going to get a long story, which is going to tell you why they averaged 12 conversations a day. They had 60 conversations for the week versus 100, which was the goal. And you're coaching and consulting. And you're hearing all of the excuses or the reasons why they didn't hit 100. It's all good. It's not bad or good. It just is. Now, the O stands for obstacles. Good morning, Vicki. The O stands for obstacles. Those are the excuses they gave you for not hitting their goals. Those are the things that are standing in the way between them and the goal. If my goal, Rashad, is 100 conversations and I had 60, what are the obstacles that stood between 100 conversations and 60 conversations? Make a list. Now, the W stands for way forward. In other words, that's the plan that we're going to use in order to remove those obstacles and get you closer to your goals. It is a coaching model that is taught by MAPS, and it's a coaching model that I use in training, coaching, and consulting real estate agents. By the way, it works. You don't have to have another model. You just follow that. And it's a weekly conversation. All right, just like you, your employee, and I know I'm repeating this, I just want you to hear it again. Just like you, your employee should set annual goals and break them down into monthly and weekly ones. His goals should contribute to your goals. And your weekly meetings are designed to keep him on track towards meeting and exceeding those goals. And remember, I just said it, it's not just the outcome, it's also the activities. Matter of fact, it's mostly focused on the activities and not the outcomes, because when we hit our activities on a regular basis, the outcomes show up, right? All right, top of page 165. You begin with training and consulting, and it continues for as long as your employee works with you. This is a university you never graduate from. Most agents either conduct training for only a short period following a new employee beginning, or simply skip it altogether. Here's what it looks like, figure number 24, for most real estate agents when they hire someone. So I hire Jonathan, then I say, follow me around or do this. And then every so often we meet. In other words, we meet on the fly. And these agents that are doing that are practicing seagull management. Seagull, you know, the bird that we all love that flies along in the ocean, makes all that really loud noise. And you could tell somebody's from out of town when they're feeding the seagulls. You're like, yeah, that person's not from here, because we don't feed seagulls. All right. They do very little training or none at all. And then they just swoop in, make a lot of noise, dump on people, and fly off. Have you ever worked with a seagull manager? Don't raise your hand if you're in this office. I realized as I was saying that, oh, John, you don't want to see the answer to this question. Gonzalo, keep your hand down. All right, bottom of the page. If you find yourself still micromanaging as a staff member, if you find yourself micromanaging a staff member 3 to 6 months into their employment, they may not be talented and may not be motivated to reach their goals, your goals, or their own goals. In other words, red flag, huge red flag. If I were in that situation, I would go back to career visioning. I would go back to the motivational interview, which is part of career visioning. And I would go back to a conversation on expectations, which Maria is part of career visioning as well. And I would simply ask the individual, Jonathan, how do you feel? Feel is a better word than think. How do you feel that you're doing? Based on the goals that we discussed when you started 90 days ago. Sorry, Jonathan, I'm putting you in a position where you're going to get fired. I know that's not fun. And it wouldn't be you, because you're going to crush it. Okay, so Jonathan, based on the goals that we discussed 90 days ago when you first started, how do you feel you're doing? And be quiet and let them talk and let them tell you how they're doing, right? What are the obstacles that are standing between you and your goals, right? They're going to share with you. And at some point, you're going to ask them, is this the right job for you? Is this job a good fit for you? Or is it possible that there might be a better opportunity for you within our organization? And these are the expectations. This is what needs to happen, or we're going to part friends. Now, part friend sounds a lot better than, or I'm going to fire you. Right? But isn't it the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. And perspective. Perspective is the only thing that can dramatically change the outcome of an event without changing any of the facts. I'm actually doing Jonathan a favor if we have that conversation and we part ways, because that gives him an opportunity to find the role that he is a good fit for, to put him in a position where he can crush the job description versus struggling. We fall in love with people, not in love, but in love. And we want to fix them. And Vicki, you'll hear people say things like, well, you know, my new administrative assistant is great at this, this, and this, but they haven't picked up everything that I really needed them to pick up. And I'm a little disappointed about this, this, and this, but I think I can fix it. You'll hear them say that, right? You can't fix people. You can't. When you train and consult so they know the job, you set expectations and you meet on a weekly basis, and then they consistently fail to hit those standards. They're just not, Vicki goes, they're a little nicer than that. But that's it. Yeah. And Vicki, I think this is a position where we're going to need to part ways, right? And your talent, you're just not a great fit for this role. And by the way, that's on me. That's not on you, because I'm the one who hired you.
It's a softer job.
Right?
It's a softer job.
When Gary Keller was, what time is it? 9:22. Cool. So I'm going to end with a story. Shocker. When Gary Keller started coaching back in the 80s, when Keller Williams was a new company, he hired this coach. Cool, because I wanted to be able to see you. Thank you for moving. He hired this coach during a very low point in his life. It's hard to imagine Gary Keller having a low point, but I'm slowing down because I want you to hear this story, okay? Gary Keller started Keller Williams in 1983. This goes back to the conversation, by the way, in case you don't connect the dots. This goes back to the conversation where I said, you share with them that this is on me. It's not on you, because I'm the one who hired you. And evidently, I did a poor job of matching you with the right role. So this is on me. It's not on you. And we're going to part ways. Now, Gary Keller started Keller Williams in 1983 with Joe Williams. Shortly after starting the company, Joe approached him and said, I want out and I want you to buy my shares. Cool. So Gary Keller bought Joe Williams shares. Joe Williams is an excellent guy, awesome, still a real estate agent, still part of Keller Williams, by the way, just not co-owners with Gary Keller. And that probably cost him some money, right? Yeah. Shortly after that, the market took a big shift and they lost agents and they found themselves in one of the most difficult real estate markets that the country has ever seen. And shortly after that, Gary Keller's wife said, hey, by the way, I'm leaving you. I don't love you. I never loved you and I'm out. And I want half of what Keller Williams is worth.
This is for real.
It's a true story. So he had to buy his wife out, and Gary Keller found himself in a position where he was millions of dollars in debt.
Wow.
Fun, right? Yeah. Now he hired a coach. And he started coach, and he's talking to his coach, and he's sharing with his coach everything, all of the challenges that he's having, the obstacles in the GROW model, GROW. These are the obstacles that are standing between me and my goal. And one of the obstacles was his ex-wife. And boy, he is just going to town, right? And she did this, and she did this, and she did this, and she did this. And Diane, the coach, just did what a good coach would do. He listened to everything Gary had to say. And then he said, okay, are you done? Gary said, yes. And he said, cool. So this is the last time we're ever going to talk about her,
That's right. Move on.
because you're showing up as a victim in this conversation. And Gary said, what do you mean I'm showing up as a victim? And the coach's response was, who asked who to marry them? He's like, well, I asked her. Well, then this is on you. It's not her fault. This is your fault. By the way, that's a good thing, because when you're not a victim, when you can look in the mirror and say, I am responsible for everything that's screwed up in my life, you can fix that. If it's your neighbor's fault, if it's the president's fault, if it's the economy's fault, if it's the weather's fault, what are you going to do about the weather? Nothing. Get an umbrella. That's really funny. I didn't think about the hurricane we had yesterday when I was sharing that, right? But you're right. Yeah, for those of you who were here and had the pleasure of break time happening during the middle of a tornado and hurricane here in South Florida, it's the weather's fault. I didn't eat lunch. It's the weather's fault. Poor me. Really? Get wet. Go eat. All right, give me some ahas. And one of them is not get wet, go eat. Because I know somebody's going to say that.
You know, one of my ahas, because I heard it in his podcast about his wife. And he was like, you know, his first thing he should have just married, right? Because he married twice.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people. That's one of my ahas.
Gary would tell you that if he would have career visioned his wife, he wouldn't have hired the first one.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that great? I mean, don't you want to, yeah, Vicky wants to, Rashad, Vicky wants to adopt you.
My mom says that when you form friendships and, you know, when you're getting a relationship, you should think about it like a business deal. What do they bring into the table, what you can.
Love it. Hey, everybody on Zoom. How many people we have on Zoom? Let's see. Okay, there's 7 of you. I'm going to turn this around. You got to see this guy. Are you in the picture, Rashad?
Yeah.
Wave to everybody. There's a rock star.
Hey, Rashad, he sure is. Vicky, I'll take him any day. He'll be my 12th kid.
Oh, I love it. Oh, you are in demand, my friend. You are in demand. I love it. Good stuff. One more aha.
Goal is not just the outcome, it's the activity.
So awesome job. Goals are not goals are not just the outcome that you're aiming for. It's the activities that lead to the outcome that you're aiming for. Focus on the activities. Results will show up. Nice. Good work. All right, time to get to work. Speaking of activities, here you go. What is work? Work is 20 conversations, not 19, not 18, not 17 conversations, because when you have 17 conversations, you didn't have the 18th conversation, which could have been $1 million listing that you didn't get because you didn't have the conversation. And the worst part is you don't know you missed the opportunity because you didn't have the conversation. Hey, care calls, not sale calls. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate you. Bring value to every single conversation. Focus on getting an appointment, getting a referral, adding somebody new to your database, or building a relationship. Find somebody today that is thinking of selling their home, whether it's 30 days from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, doesn't matter, because a year from now, you're going to need listings. Meet with someone every day who is thinking of selling their home. So in the next 250 days, you're going to be face-to-face with 250 people who are thinking of selling their home, and then follow up forever. Because you reject rejection. Because no is not a word that lives in your vocabulary. No simply means not yet. Remember that people will never change their mind. What they will do is make a new decision based on new information. And when you follow up forever, you're creating emotional proximity so that when that person you're following up with makes a new decision, their new decision, Vicky, is going to be to
Hire.
She did it. There we go. All right, everybody, make it a great day.
I'm impressed.
Me too.
Stop it.
All right, everybody on Zoom, hang in there. We're going to role play here in just a moment. I'm just going to stop